Welcome to the heart of European democracy, the European Parliament. 720 members of the European Parliament represent the 27 diverse nations of the European Union, all gathered under one roof. From the powerhouses like Germany with 96 MEPs, France with 81, and Italy with 76, to the smaller but equally important voices of Cyprus, Luxembourg, and Malta, each with 6 MEPs. These MEPs aren't just numbers, they're actual people. There are 277 women and 441 men making up this political mosaic, with an average age of 50. And it's not just seasoned politicians in the mix. The youngest MEP is a 23-year-old, while the oldest is still going strong at 76. Elected in 2024, this group of MEPs will steer the European Parliament for the next 5 years, shaping laws and policies that affect the daily lives of over 449 million people across Europe. Now let's talk about how these 720 MEPs actually get their seats. It all starts at the national level. Each of the 27 EU member states holds its own elections to decide which national parties will represent them in the European Parliament. For example, if you're in the Netherlands, you might find yourself choosing between parties like the VVD, GroenLinks, or the PVV. Each party puts forward a list of candidates, and voters cast their ballots for their preferred party. Once the votes are counted, the seats are allocated based on the proportion of votes each party receives. So if a party in the Netherlands wins 20% of the vote, it might get a corresponding percentage of the Dutch seats in the European Parliament. So what exactly does a European Parliament do, and why should you care? Well, the European Parliament is one of the most powerful legislative bodies in the world. Some argue that the EU imposes around 80% of the laws on its member countries, while others suggest it's closer to 25%. But regardless of the exact figure, one thing is certain: the EU's impact is significant. So which parties currently sit in the European Parliament? Well, the short answer is hundreds, but it's a bit more organized than it sounds. These national parties don't operate alone. Instead, they come together in larger coalitions known as European political groups. For example, take the center-right People's Party from Spain. They have a strong presence in Spain, but outside of their home country, their reach is limited. So to amplify their influence across Europe, they join forces with other center-right parties across the continent. These include Forza Italia from Italy, New Democracy from Greece, the CDU from Germany, the Civic Platform from Poland, and many more from most other EU countries. Together they form the European People's Party Group, one of the most influential groups in the European Parliament. There are 8 of these groups, and they're made up of like-minded parties from different countries, all working together to influence EU regulation. Now let's spice things up and dive into what these groups actually stand for. The before-mentioned European People's Party is center-right and holds the most seats in the European Parliament, making it the largest with 188 seats. The 2 biggest parties in this group are Germany's CDU-CSU and Spain's PP. The current president of the EPP group, Manfred Weber, hails from Germany's CSU party. Additionally, the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, comes from the CDU party, also from Germany. Moving to the Socialists and Democrats, also called S&D. This center-left group is the second largest in the parliament with 136 seats. Its key players are Spain's PSOE and Italy's Democratic Party. The group is currently headed by Garcia from Spain's PSOE. Then there are the Patriots for Europe, a right-wing to far-right nationalist group holding 84 seats, making it the 3rd largest group in the European Parliament. The Patriots are a new group, formed by Viktor Orban and Marine Le Pen shortly after the EU elections in June. It's no surprise that the biggest parties in this group are France's National Rally and Hungary's Fidesz, with Jordan Bardella leading the group. Next is the European Conservatives and Reformists, a right-wing conservative group with 78 seats, positioning it as the 4th largest in the parliament. Poland's Law and Justice Party and Italy's Brothers of Italy are its leading parties, with Nicola Protaccini from Italy's Brothers of Italy at the helm. Renew Europe, positioned in the centrist and liberal spectrum, holds 77 seats, making it the 5th largest group. France's Renaissance and Germany's FDP are the most prominent parties in this group, with Valérie Ayer from France serving as its president. Next we have the Greens/EFA, a left-wing group with 53 seats, placing it as the 6th largest in the European Parliament. The group draws its main strength from Germany's Greens and France's Europe Ecology Party. It is currently co-led by Terry Reintke from Germany and Bas Eickhout from the Netherlands GroenLinks. The left group, positioned on the far left of the political spectrum, holds 46 seats, making it the 7th largest group in the European Parliament. The biggest parties in this group are France's La France Insoumise and Italy's Five Star Movement. The group is co-led by Manon Aubry from France and Martin Scheerdewan from Germany. Lastly, we have the European Sovereign Nations Group, also known as the Sovereignists, a far-right ultra-nationalist group with 25 seats, making it the smallest group in the parliament. This group draws its strength primarily from Germany's AfD, which holds more than half of the total seats in the entire group. So that's our European Parliament, right? Not so fast. There are still 33 seats in the non-aligned stack, representing parties from 8 different countries. This includes Germany's BSW and Slovakia's Smear Party, among others. These non-aligned members don't belong to any of the major political groups, which comes with significant drawbacks. Non-aligned members have less influence on legislation, fewer speaking opportunities, and reduced access to key committee roles. They also receive less funding and resources, making it harder to operate effectively. So this is the European Parliament from 2024 to 2029. 8 groups, each with their own ideology and ideas for Europe. So what do they stand for? Well, we could make a whole video series on this, and hey, maybe we will. But for now, let's break it down by some key issues. On Ukraine, most groups want to keep or even increase support for Ukraine. But the left, the Patriots and the Sovereignists, have a very different view. They'd rather hit the pause button on military aid and push much harder for peace talks. Then there's defense. The Renew Europe group and the EPP are all about beefing it up. But meanwhile, the left is like, let's demilitarize the world. And then migration? The Sovereignists come in hot with the strongest stance, pushing for tighter national borders. They are not exactly the biggest fans of the EU's open internal borders. Then climate change. No surprises here. The Greens are leading the charge. And the Patriots and Sovereignists? They'd rather ditch the climate targets altogether. The economy. Left-wing parties are all about more spending and regulation, while the right-wingers prefer less government intervention. No shockers here. And finally, the EU itself. The Greens, Renew Europe and the S&D are full-on Europhiles. They want more integration. The Sovereignists and Patriots? Not so much. In fact, the AfD, part of the Sovereignists, want a Dexit referendum and to ditch the euro altogether. Now let's plot these parties on a horizontal line. The far left on the left, and the far right on the right, and the center parties in the middle. And this is what it looks like. Yes, we know that it is getting more difficult to cluster political groups into right and left, but this will give you an idea where each of them stands. So how does the European Parliament actually work though? The European Parliament is one of 3 key EU institutions involved in making laws, alongside the European Commission and the Council of the European Union. Together, they shape the laws that govern the EU. The process begins with the European Commission, which proposes new legislation. For example, in September 2020, the Commission proposed a new pact for migration and asylum to overhaul the EU's approach to migration, focusing on solidarity and migrant redistribution. The proposal was then reviewed by the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union. In the Parliament, the proposal went through a thorough process of review, involving various committees and debates. MEPs examined the proposal in detail and made several amendments. One key amendment focused on making the migrant relocation system stricter and more binding, ensuring that all EU countries would be required to share the responsibilities of relocating migrants. On the other hand, the Council, which represents national governments, preferred a more flexible approach, allowing countries to contribute in different ways, such as providing financial support instead of taking in migrants. Because of these differences, trilogues, which are negotiations between the Parliament, the Council and the Commission, began in 2023. A compromise was then reached by the end of the year, allowing for either migrant relocation or financial contributions. Yes, it's not simple and it takes time, a lot of it. And if you'd like to know more about the Commission or the Council of the EU, let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're passionate about staying informed about all things EU, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Curious about the origins of the EU? Then check out this video to dive into its history and purpose. And if you're looking for more details on the Migration Pact, don't miss out this deep dive right here. If you'd like to help us continue creating content, consider joining our Patreon community. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.